what can you guys tell me about a secondary source? What would a secondary source be?
A secondary source would be someone who didn't live the story, like live the event, but still told the story. So if, like, for example, if someone would write an article on like a war or something, but never actually was in the war, that would be technically a secondary source.
Exactly. Yeah, like a history book, or like something that identifies the events of that that occurrence. And so the secondary sources like this, you see, it's a biography of Martin Luther King. Now, Martin Luther King didn't write that, otherwise it would have been an autobiography. But somebody wrote this about the life and achievements of Dr. King. And so they were working to, develop an idea so you understand the information about Martin Luther King. So secondary sources are one step removed from primary sources. Though they often quote or otherwise use primary sources, they compile information. They can cover the same topic, but add a layer of interpretation or analysis. So, if they're talking about a battle in the Civil War, they're going to talk about both sides and how they affected each other, not just one side, one point of view written from, a brigadier general that, set the battle into play. So it's more of just like an overlay of the information. And usually we use more secondary sources than primary sources while we're doing, our research in history classes. So secondary sources can include most books about a topic, analysis or interpretation of data, scholarly or other articles about a topic, especially by people not directly involved. Documentaries, though they often include photos or videos, portions that can be considered primary sources. So like I said, those, like when you watch a documentary, you'll see videos of World War II planes bombing and ships and all that. That's a primary source, but the documentary itself that compiles all that information is a secondary source. Do you guys need any clarification on either primary or secondary sources? Nope, you're good? All right. If you do, just like I said, when we're in our breakout rooms or anything, you can just ask me then or anytime. This slide here, is this a primary or a secondary source, and why?
That would be a primary source because the letter from the time, and that was written by a first-hand account rather than a secondary person compiling information.
Right, yeah. So like this could be letters home from, a war, or letters from, trying to get information to somebody, about families and stuff like that. So yes, it is a primary source, and it was written by a person that was experiencing history at the time. And this slide here, can anybody tell me what this is?
Secondary source.
All right, good, Rennie. Can you tell me why?
Because it's a book that's explaining off the history of every person. Like giving off the info of every person.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
History.
Yeah, so it definitely did. It is kind of like a bridging gap of information through history. It's kind of, history books do have primary sources in them, just like other things, but they're typically displayed with information that sews all of history together, which makes them a secondary source. Now, we're going to do a little review here on what we've gone through. Be ready to tell me something you learned from this presentation. And can you answer the essential questions? What is the difference between a primary source and secondary source? Can anybody give me like one thing that just kind of breaks it down?
I feel like the difference.
Or you go ahead, Isaac.
All right. I feel like the difference between a primary and secondary could be something like Omateo said earlier, like a journal or a notebook, and then a secondary source is like an interpretation of that, or like a modern equivalent with that maybe references it but isn't from that time period.
Perfect. I like that. What is an example? Oh, okay, let's see. Yeah, you did 1 and 2. Perfect. Good job, Isaac. What